Okay people, it's been 1 week since Smolder has been released and you might argue that, well, why would I watch the video now when the champion isn't even that new anymore and we have played with him and against him plenty of times already, and shut the hell up! You are yet to experience the true Smolder experience and know what this little dragon is capable of. Stop sucking around and stop being a fool. These people have no idea what it's like to actually play a real dragon. So welcome to the Real Champion Spotlight, featuring Smolder, the Fiery Fledgling. Smolder, huh, a tiny dragon who can talk, has a ton of human-like facial features and spews a ton of flame on his enemies. Now hear me out people, so we have this lore connection between Shyvana and Jarvan 4 that they basically banged and that they are in love, so you know, why wouldn't it make sense that in reality Smolder is their tiny little dragon child? What if it's all connected and his mother is actually Shyvana? But that's just a theory. A League theory. You know, actually my girlfriend doesn't like me playing League. Sometimes when I play, she gives me the cold Smolder. Okay, but seriously, did you see his face? It was so bad when Riot released his splash art and in-game looks with a teaser that the League community went full on Sonic the Hedgehog on the champion and they were basically forced to change his face up in the first 24 hours. Which, you know, is pretty insane if you think about it, because the person who had to work on Smolder's model actually did a way better job, so good job for that. Regardless of his looks, Smolder is actually a pretty darn good character. Last year, Riot have done a really amazing job at releasing fun characters onto the Rift, and Smolder is no exception. Like, look at the last 4 characters released: Smolder, Wei, Briar, and Naafiri. Okay, Wei and Briar are more special in the sense that they have brought never before seen mechanics to the game, but at the same time these champions were some of the more problematic ones after release, so maybe it's not a problem that Smolder has no issues after release, right? Well, this is where we need to look at things in a bit more detail. So what is Smolder's gameplay like? Smolder is an AD carry who can also be picked on mid, or if you're not scared of some wild Aatrox, Yone or Akshan player, you can take him up to the top lane as well and be a much cuter version of Nasus. Why is that, you might ask? Well my friends, if you have truly been living under a rock, Smolder is a stacking champion, and this is where his passive comes into play, which is called Dragon Practice. Smolder generates a stack of Dragon Practice each time he hits an enemy champion with an ability, or whenever his Q, Super Scorcher Breath, kills a minion or a monster. In addition to this, his basic abilities deal bonus magic damage based on the amount of stacks he has gathered over the game. Riot has finally made another permanently stacking champion because, let's be real, it's been a while since we last received the stacking champion, and even that was almost 2 years ago when we got Belveth. Understandably, designing and creating a new champion, let alone a stacking one, takes quite a bit of work to pull off, so props to Riot for making one that's not just fun to play but also has some really cool abilities. His passive is a huge part of his kit, and trust me when I say that if you're up against a good Smolder or your game is gonna be longer than 40 minutes, then you better start reciting Bible verses and hope that Jesus will save you from the minion of Satan. His Q is called Super Scorcher Breath, or as I like to call it, Spit or Bleh. Smolder spits a fireball at the target enemy that deals physical damage increased by his crit chance up to 30%, which also applies on hit effects at 100% effectiveness and lifesteal at 50%. This ability is Smolder's main ability and the heart of his kit, because this allows him to stack his passive much better and more effectively without needing to rely on hitting champions with abilities. His Q has 3 important checkpoints based on the number of stacks: 25, 125 and 225. At 25 stacks, his Q explodes upon collision like Tristana's E, and it deals physical damage to nearby enemies. At 125 stacks upon collision, his Q sends forth a few additional bolts of fire that explode, dealing 75% of the same physical damage to enemies hit. At 225 stacks, this ability becomes pretty damn broken. Enemies hit by the fireball are set on fire for 3 seconds, causing them to take bonus true damage that's scaling with their fucking maximum HP, and on top of all of this, champions hit by this ability are executed below a certain threshold, which is really freaking broken when in late game Smolder spews at least 5 of these on you in the span of 10 seconds, and no matter how tanky you are, you're gonna get bursted down by him. There's also some funny interactions with the ability, like the one with Rapid Fire Cannon, which usually makes your auto attack range bigger, however this time it also makes your Q's range bigger, so make sure to get the item in case you are against something like Caitlyn, Jhin or anything else that has a big range. If you wanna get the best value out of this ability, make sure to start off with a Doran's Ring so you will have enough mana to spam this ability to kill minions and get as many stacks as early as possible. His W is called Achoo! Smolder sneezes a fiery glob in the target direction that deals physical damage to enemies hit and slows them by 35% for 1.5 seconds, eventually slowing down after traveling 1200 units. In addition to this, if you manage to hit an enemy champion with this ability, there's gonna be an explosion that deals additional physical damage in an area to nearby enemies, with subsequent explosions against the same target dealing only 75% of the previous explosion's damage. aka if you hit 2 enemies with W, they will start to receive less damage based on how many targets are near them. This ability is pretty self-explanatory and is a pretty simple ability in itself, basically just a really long range ball that slows down as it goes, however it can change the tide of battle sometimes times, like for example if someone is chasing you or is about to get you and you just spit a big ball of snot at them and slow them down, then follow up with your E to fly away, you can get yourself out of a ton of sticky situations. I also have to mention that hitting this ability can be quite satisfying because of the slowing down effect, and sometimes you even hit the enemy when you're not even expecting it due to its hitbox not really matching the looks of the ability. Speaking of Smolder's E, his E is called Flap Flap Flap. Smolder takes flight for 1.25 seconds, gaining 100% bonus movement speed, unobstructed vision, and the ability to ignore terrain collision. During his flight, he fires up to 10 bolts at the nearest, lowest health enemy that is visible, prioritizing enemy champions. The ability can be cancelled early if you use any of your other abilities or if you get immobilized. You know what Smolder's favorite body part is? Scares. You know, scares, because he's a dragon and he scares up to the late game. He scares. I don't care, it's funny. Let me tell you that this ability has to be one of the most satisfying ones to use in the entire game up to this point. At least for me that is. The fact that this ability lets you escape virtually any situation is truly the bee's knees, and it feels incredibly smooth. Even without taking into consideration the fact that this ability is also a damaging one. But you know what the most broken thing about this ability is? It reveals invisible enemies. Yep, you heard me right. Smolder's E is capable of revealing enemies in stealth or through invisibility. Here, let me present to you two clips that showcase this broken aspect of the ability. In the first clip, we see famous League streamer Nemesis playing Smolder in the mid lane and he's facing a Talon. As he hits the Talon, who by the way used his ult with Smolder's E, Talon gets revealed and he can easily finish up the kill afterward. Need more proof? Okay, here's Veigar V2 presenting the invisibility revealing aspect of the ability in a custom game. He is facing an Akali and he uses E right before Akali is able to use her W to hide herself, but against Smolder that won't mean squat, because Smolder actually reveals her in the shroud. Remember when not even towers could reveal Akali? Those are some funky times. And now we have a champion who can reveal anyone who becomes invisible, as long as he managed to hit a single instance of E on them. This ability could use a bit of so-called buffs or adjustments, because this ability is used most of the time for escape rather than chase, because Smolder is already a champion who can be beaten quite hard in the early game by any strong ADC plus support combo, one of the most popular ones being Lucian and Nami, who by the way just completely stomp on Smolder's early game. Riot Fraxon has already hinted at Smolder's E getting a buff, with having mid-game in mind because of what I mentioned earlier, and we will see if that will happen or Riot will decide to nerf the little dragon after they find out about the fact that the character has a 52% win rate in Challenger and just a bit under in Grandmaster. However, he absolutely sucks ass in low elo. You know, some players just know how to play this champion so well that they just give you a dislocated Smolder. Now enough about his E. We gotta talk about the big stuff, the badonka-donkers, the myths that are accompanying this little dragon, aka his mama, who is bigger and stronger than Shyvana will ever be. Actually, that's not true, but I just wanted to believe that's true. It's my headcanon, shut the fuck up. So, let's talk about Smolder's ult, which is called Ma'am. Smolder basically calls for her mother to attack in a wide range in front of him for quite a long range, damaging any enemy hit by it, especially the ones in the middle of the wave because they take 30% increased damage and granting vision where it travels to. In addition to this, Smolder hits for a flat amount based on how many enemies get hit by his ult, and they also get slowed by 40% for 2 seconds. As I always say, dragons are always on fire, but they never seem to get burned out. I actually got this pun from the very first Dragon Pun website. You can just check them out for yourself. This is probably one of the best looking abilities ever added to League, and it's very satisfying when your enemy lives on a sliver of HP and you just call down the Meowth Dragon from Shrek to go and finish them off. And they just stand there not even knowing that their demise is already set in stone. The ability is extremely efficient at helping your team catch someone or even turn the tide of a battle completely if used correctly, because it deals such an unexpected amount of damage even at a low level that you will just wonder how the hell did a tiny little dragon who is 0-5 decide to call for his mom to help him. And you will just be turned into ashes or left there standing like a stupid candle that's been extinguished, or that old lady from SpongeBob because the big badass dragon just decided that nobody ain't gonna mess with her mama's boy. Smolder has a ton of useful abilities and is probably one of the most oppressive champions ever created if you manage to hit the 30-minute mark. I know this video is gonna come out 1 week after Smolder has been released, but there's actually a very valid reason as to why this spotlight is still relevant. I see so many people building this champion wrong that I can't even count up that high. The builds of this champion are genuinely so versatile that sometimes I feel like I am facing a Katarina, the only difference being that this little shit can destroy me from 10 kilometers away, just by sensing that I am in the same exact country as he is. Crit build works on this champion. Bruiser build works on this champion. Lethality works on this champion. AP? Maybe not that great, but it still works. Building a shit ton of complete items from all of the above mentioned categories works the absolute best. Okay, now you might be wondering, wait, what do you mean it works the best? What I mean is that you buy 2 bruiser items, 2 AP items and 1 ADC item, and this champion deletes you while face tanking your whole team. I am not even kidding, the mathematically correct, most used build on this champion is the following. A ton of people start out by buying Doran's Blade on this champ or Longsword. No, you absolute buffoons, you need to start out with the Doran's Ring because it gives you AP, health and a ton of regen while you farm, which you will need because your mana is gonna be depleted faster than your bank account after Riot decides to put more and more skins behind the paywall. After you get your Doran's Ring, you buy a Dark Seal, and if you're gonna get fed early and you're looking strong, you can even upgrade to a Magi, but only later on in the game. Your first item is gonna be a Shojin, you're gonna get Boots of Swiftness or Ionians afterwards, then a Riftmaker, then a Liandry, and for the last item you can literally close your eyes, throw a dart at a board of items and get whatever the fuck you want. Get an RFC to increase your range, get a Cosmic Drive to be a speedy little annoying cunt so you can relive your childhood, get a Triforce for the Sheen effect or a Guardian Angel to show the enemy that on top of your 3k HP you're a little bitch who will laugh in the face of death. Doesn't matter whatsoever, whatever you will buy at this point, it will work and I mean it. If you don't trust me, go watch Migung or Drutwood play this shit, it's one of the most disgusting things ever. Smolder is a very unique champion because he brings some cool mechanics to the game and they are put together in such a creative way that he is not only strong if he gets put in the right hands, but he's also very fun to play. Flying around with your E, spitting fireballs at your enemy that make them wish they haven't ever downloaded or even looked in the direction of League and calling for your mom to unban you at Riot because she works there.
Well, my mom works for Riot and she's gonna ban you.
So remember how a bunch of Rioters were laid off last month? Yeah, so Smolder's designer also lost his job. But he also designed Cassante, so I don't think we need to call for the Scooby Gang to find out why and how that happened. I'm just kidding, losing your job is definitely never a good thing. I genuinely hope this guy will find a new job soon and that he's doing okay, along the many others that sadly lost their job. Anywho, this is all the time we had today to talk about our brand new fiery little dragon, Smolder. Go and give him a try, build whatever you want or whatever I showed in this video, because if you have at least half a brain you will succeed with this champion, trust me. Thank you for watching my first ever champion spotlight, and once my stupid exams will be over and I will fail almost all of them, I will see you in the next one. Goodbye!